London sees a new and glorious chapter added to her history with that long-awaited celebration, the Victory Parade. Leaving Buckingham Palace and their state landau, Their Majesties the King and Queen, with the two princesses, begin their drive with a captain's escort of household cavalry. A mighty roar of cheers greets the royal carriage, drawn by the famous Windsor Greys, as it drives through the crowded West End, a wonderful patch of brilliant color. Meanwhile, at the saluting base in the Mall, Mr. Churchill and Mr. Attlee received a tremendous ovation as they arrived together at what was to be the center of pageantry. The royal procession by this time had reached Trafalgar Square, to be greeted by crowds which had poured in from every part of the country to share in this day of thankful rejoicing. And now their Majesties arrive at the saluting base itself and are welcomed by Mr. Churchill, Mr. Attlee, and the Dominion leaders. An affectionate meeting follows as their Majesties are greeted by Queen Mary. Then follows one of the most dazzling scenes of the whole parade, as the massed pipers of Scottish and Irish regiments march and countermarch in the Mall. The pride of the North, giving London an unforgettable thrill. In a place of honor are that gallant company of VCs of two wars, watching the approach of the mechanized column, headed by the commanders whose names have become household words. For France, General Koenig, the hero of Bir Hakeim. Then our own legendary commander, Field Marshal Montgomery. General Crerar, the fighting leader of our Canadian allies. Marshal of the RAF, Lord Tedder. And here, with the thunder of tank tracks, comes the mechanized column. 500 vehicles in a 4-mile-long procession pouring through the heart of London in a massive display of armored might. Through the Admiralty Arch and up the Mall come vehicles of the RAF, many being seen by Londoners for the first time. Now the tanks of the Royal Armored Corps, dipping their guns in salute as they pass their king. Field Marshals Alexander and Maitland Wilson watch with satisfaction the armored strength they strove so hard to achieve. Mr. Attlee and Mr. Churchill perhaps remember the dark days when our tanks were few and far between. Here comes the Churchill bridge layer, an invaluable weapon which our great war leader himself helped to perfect. Another spectacular weapon, the flail, which swept the minefields in advance of our infantry. Then the light cavalry of the armored division, keeping perfect station as they pass in review. Still the mechanized column rolls on, with the guns of the Royal Artillery now taking pride of place. Civilian services, too, are in the column, with the Land Army getting a very special cheer. Another of the great company at the saluting base is Lord Louis Mountbatten, watching the crowds pay their tribute to the Army Film Unit and the war correspondents. So much for the mechanized column. Now, following on, come the men and women behind the machines, their vanguards already marching along Whitehall. Here, at the Cenotaph, the victorious legions of the British Commonwealth of Nations pay tribute to their fathers and brothers who fell in the First and Second World War, a solemn act of homage in which their allies join. Troops of the USA lead the forces of our comrades in arms, followed by those of China and other nations who stood at our side against the common foe. Prominent are the picturesque uniforms of Greece. With gratitude we remember the unswerving loyalty of Australia and the other dominions. The forces of India, whose fighting record Britain now salutes. The colonial empire. From West Africa to Malta, from Gibraltar to Ceylon and Malaya, every part is represented. Now our own fighting services, led by the Royal Navy. More cheers greeted the Wren's magnificent display of marching. Yes, the merchant navy was here too. The men of the Red Duster who kept our lifeline unbroken. The grand work of the police during the war years is acknowledged, together with the heroes of civil defense, including this dog, VC. The nursing services and the WVS march with pride in this parade, representing the most concentrated national mobilization in the history of war. The British Army, the men who form a living roll of battle honors, the men of Dunkirk, Alamein, Italy and Mandalay, whose deeds will be remembered so long as stories of bravery are told. All eyes turn skyward for the RAF fly past as the parade draws to a close. And lastly, among the vast civilian army, a place is kept in every heart for the backbone of the home front, the housewives of Britain. May the spirit of this great day continue to strengthen and inspire us in whatever the future may hold.